Karen Pemberton stood in the middle of the Hendersons' backyard pool party, wearing a hot pink blazer and clutching a laminated rulebook, screaming at a 7-year-old about proper diving etiquette. The child burst into tears and ran to his mother while Karen adjusted her oversized sunglasses and declared, "Pool safety is not negotiable." She'd been at the party for exactly 12 minutes. Earlier that morning, she'd called the police on the bounce house delivery truck for excessive noise violations at 9:47 a.m., 3 minutes before the community's designated quiet hours ended. When Officer Martinez arrived, Karen was standing in her driveway with a decibel meter app on her phone, demanding the driver be arrested for disturbing the peace. The officer diplomatically suggested she might want to invest in better curtains. But the real spectacle began when Karen spotted Mrs. Chen hanging patriotic bunting on her fence for the neighborhood 4th of July celebration. "That's a clear violation of Section 12.3b. Karen shrieked, marching across 3 lawns in her house slippers, waving her phone to record evidence. No decorative items may extend beyond the property line by more than 2 inches. She'd actually measured with a ruler she kept in her purse. Now, at the Henderson pool party, Karen's authority complex reached new heights. She'd arrived uninvited but armed with her freshly printed HOA violation forms and a clipboard. "This gathering exceeds the maximum decibel level for residential entertainment," she announced to 12-year-old Tommy Henderson, who was simply trying to enjoy his birthday party. "Ma'am, this is private property," said Mike Henderson, the birthday boy's father, attempting diplomacy while his wife Lisa rolled her eyes behind Karen's back. "Actually," Karen sniffed, pulling out her phone to show him a screenshot. "According to HOA regulations, any gathering over 15 people requires pre-approval. I count 17. She gestured dramatically at the collection of children, parents, and grandparents lounging around the pool. "Karen, you're not even invited to this party," Lisa Henderson interjected, her patience wearing thin. "And since when do you work for the HOA? Karen's eyes lit up with an almost manic gleam. "Since I filed my application to join the board yesterday, as a concerned community member, I'm conducting a preliminary assessment of compliance violations." She began photographing the party decorations, the music setup, and even the pool floats, muttering about documentation and proper procedures. The final straw came when Karen commandeered the pool speaker system, connecting her own phone to announce a list of infractions. "Attention party attendees," her voice boomed across the backyard. "You are currently in violation of noise ordinances, gathering size restrictions, and improper poolside footwear protocols." The music stopped. Conversations died. Even the children in the pool froze, staring at this woman who turned their fun afternoon into a bureaucratic nightmare. Karen stood proudly at the speaker, completely oblivious to the collective glare of 23 pairs of eyes. Mike Henderson quietly pulled out his phone and began recording. He had a feeling the HOA board was going to want to see this. The emergency HOA board meeting was called for the following Tuesday evening, and Karen arrived 20 minutes early, armed with a 3-ring binder full of evidence and wearing her most professional power suit. She'd spent the weekend preparing a PowerPoint presentation titled Community Standards and Why They Matter, complete with photos from the Henderson pool party and a detailed breakdown of every violation she'd documented. "I've taken the liberty of identifying 17 separate infractions from just one afternoon," Karen announced proudly to the 5 board members, clicking through slides that showed children playing in the pool, adults holding beer bottles, and someone's grandmother in flip-flops. "This is what happens when we allow lawlessness to flourish in our community." Board President Margaret Winters, a retired teacher who dealt with difficult personalities for 30 years, watched Karen's presentation with growing amazement. "Karen, you do realize you weren't invited to this party, correct?" "Irrelevant," Karen replied curtly. "As a homeowner in this community, I have the right, no, the obligation, to ensure our standards are maintained." She clicked to her next slide, which showed a blurry photo of a child's birthday cake. "Look at this frosting disaster they allowed on the pool deck. Potential staining hazard." The room fell silent. Board member Dave Martinez, Officer Martinez's civilian brother, cleared his throat. Karen, we've received 14 complaints about you in the past month, from 14 different neighbors. Karen's confident expression flickered. Complaints? Margaret opened her own folder. Mrs. Chen filed a harassment complaint after you measured her holiday decorations with a ruler. The Hendersons are considering a restraining order after you crashed their son's birthday party. And apparently, you've been leaving violation notices on cars parked legally on public streets. I was maintaining community standards. Karen protested, her voice rising an octave. Someone has to care about property values. By terrorizing children at birthday parties. Dave asked incredulously. Karen, we have a video of you making a 7-year-old cry because his swinging technique didn't meet your approval. For the first time since anyone could remember, Karen Pemberton looked genuinely shaken. She'd expected praise, maybe even immediate appointment to the board. Instead, she was facing the collective disapproval of the people she'd been trying to impress. We've made our decision, Margaret said firmly. Your HOA membership is being revoked, effective immediately. You'll need to find somewhere else to live within 60 days. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. That's illegal. You can't just kick someone out. Actually, we can. Board member Linda Torres spoke up, sliding a document across the table. Section 4.7 of our bylaws allows for membership termination in cases of harassment and disruption of community peace. Your behavior has created a hostile environment for multiple families. Karen stared at the termination notice, her hands trembling slightly. For months, she believed she was the hero of her own story, the only person brave enough to enforce the rules. Now, sitting in this sterile community center room under harsh fluorescent lights, she realized she'd become the villain. This isn't over, she whispered, gathering her binders and folders with shaking hands. I'll appeal this. I'll fight it. But as she walked to her car, Karen couldn't shake the image of that little boy's tears at the pool party, or the way the entire neighborhood had looked at her, not with respect or fear, but with pity. Back in the meeting room, Margaret sighed heavily. Think she'll actually move? Dave chuckled grimly. Karen doesn't give up that easily. Something tells me this is just the beginning. Through the window, they watched Karen sit in her car for several minutes, staring at her phone. Whatever she was planning, it wasn't surrender.